Hello and welcome to Speak Your Truth podcast. I'm Kristen Bomas and we are on a conscious journey to enlightenment. We're going to talk a little bit about parenting and leadership, maybe. What is it like to be a parent these days when our children are facing so many adult-like experiences in their lives? And what is it like being a parent today when our children are experiencing things we didn't experience? They've broadened their bully base, they've broadened their social base, right? Because that goes hand in hand in our kids, and it did in our lives as well. So as parents, how do we cope and remain the leader, the authority to our children? How do we remain the parent to our children as our children have a voice and tell us a little bit about what they're experiencing and what they're going through? And how do we use that exact same skill to allow our children the freedom to tell us what they're thinking, feeling, and experiencing so that the secrets aren't kept? It's all kind of coming from the same beginning. And of course, there's going to be a lot more to it than I say in this podcast. But in a nutshell, parents are the leaders. Your job as a parent is to create a safe environment within which the child can freely express themselves and learn about life. So as a parent, your job is to create a safe environment. In other words, to put out those limitations or structures that are broad enough that within them the child can express themselves and grow and develop their sense of self. That being said, it's a bit of a challenge because we're not really told that as parents. But if you can imagine how that works, your child comes home and says that they have experienced bullying, or maybe last year your kids were involved in some really horrific shooting or something very bad at school, or maybe it was a bad dating relationship that's left a sour taste in their mouth. But whatever it is, they've had an experience, and they say to you, but I don't want to go to school. I'm scared to go to school. I don't want to go out with my friends because I don't want to run into so-and-so. And here you are, the parent, and you're listening to your child's logic and to their expression of self, and you go, I agree, I understand what you're saying, yet at the same time, as your parent, I don't want to let you succumb to that fear, and you certainly can't just miss school. So how are we going to be a parent at a time where our child's voice is very strong and very real? I think it's kind of sad that we talk about that, but really when we look at parenting these days, the parent has fallen out of that position, and the child's voice is starting to have the greater voice in the household. But a child needs the direction. Like I said, they need to know you're keeping them safe. So if they have the voice and they're kind of ruling the roost, then who's keeping them safe? While they express these things, you want to explore the child. What is your fear? What is happening? What can I do? The parent is the healer in their listening capacity. And in healing, you're also teaching and leading your child in a direction that is opening them to what life is about within them, what their experience is, and how they can then master those experiences and move forward. If you're challenged in giving your child some, sage advice at those times, then as a parent, reach out. Learn how to be that healer at those times. But very important, as a parent, sit back and listen to your child. Don't let it be disarming if your child has a very good point. That means you did a good job giving them the opportunity to have a voice. So now together you have to come up with a solution. As a parent, you can't say, well, then don't go to school because of the bullying. You can't say, don't go to school because last year there was a shooting. You can't say, no, don't go to school. I guess you can, but that's not your only answer. The other answer is, what can we do to heal your fear? What can we do to give you the strength and the courage to take a leadership position against these bullies? What can we do as parents to teach and guide and support our children in a direction that allows them to transcend their challenges and their fears and move into their own freedom? We want to listen to our kids because they know themselves better than we know them. We would like to believe that as parents we know our kids better than they know themselves, but that's not true. A child's perception of this world is unique to them, and as parents it's very difficult to know how your child is perceiving the world. So you want to listen to your child, give them the freedom to have a great voice, because in so doing, they are developing a sense of self, and yes, they're going to make mistakes. And again, we're going to keep those limits so that their mistakes aren't harmful mistakes. It's one thing to just fall off a bike, riding it down the street, right? And you hurt yourself and you get a boo-boo and you get back on the bike and you learn to ride. It's another when a parent lets the child get on a bike and they live on a hill and the child doesn't know how to ride a bike and they lose control going lickety-split down a hill and they can really damage themselves. Those are two different things. So the limitation is created when the parent puts the bike on a flat surface and knows the limitations of the child's capacity and then gives them the freedom to learn, to experience life, and to experience its hiccups and boo-boos without being disastrous and destructive. So think about your child's voice. Be proud of your child when they have an answer to you can't go out with your friends, and that answer is so sound that you feel like, she just put me in my place. So now how are you going to respond to that child? Just like that. You have a very good point. I admire it. Now let's talk about how you're going to stay safe. If that's what your fear is as a parent, then talk about it. Then how am I going to teach you? If you want to go out with this guy and you want him to drive the car and I'm saying no and you're saying why not? He's a good guy, he's a good driver, his parents know, blah, 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 blah. Then you say, well, I get scared. Tell me how you're going to take care of yourself and be safe. Can you make sure you call me here, there, and somewhere else? So you're working with the child's expression of self while maintaining the limitations so that the freedom can be built. So I hope that's a beginning of thinking outside the box a little bit as to how we deal with our children when they come to us with ideas that sometimes supersede ours. I thank you very much for being a part of this podcast today. And remember, parenting is a form of leadership. Open up your children. Help them be the strong, courageous leaders that they can be, each unique in their own way. Thank you very much for joining me. If you like what you have heard, please make sure that you like this YouTube page. And also, I am available on Facebook Live Mondays and Thursdays. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a wonderful day filled with raising beautiful, independent children.